We're flying outside the box this week. See who joins the show on this week's episode of the IndyBall Report podcast. Back again, episode 312 of the IndyBall Report. Hi, Ryan. How are you?
I am good.
Snaps for
How
poetry.
are you? Is that what that is? Really just saying things with a rhythm is poetry now?
Yes, it is. Say
They
it
aren't
aggressively
what they
too,
used to
but
be.
not too loud.
Or do I put slam poetry on my resume?
Yo, slam poetry pod?
Ew.
Craft beers, slam poetry, dimly lit spaces in what used to be an asbestos-filled warehouse? Yes.
Any used to be asbestos-filled warehouse is still an asbestos-filled warehouse, just also filled with lies. Pro tip.
And good times with good friends.
Yeah, man. Nothing like... No, not even going to go there. This would go real off the rails real quick.
I was going to say, we
good times
have
in
another man's
warehouses.
reputation this week
Yes, we do.
as an unannounced interview, which is more or less on me for scheduling things last minute, but still getting away with it because that's kind of how we roll around here. We have a interview for you this week. We have David Blenckstone from the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars, the general manager of that squad. And you'll hear that interview at the end of this week's episode. It's a good one. You guys will enjoy it. Before we get to that, though, we do have 2.5-ish, I guess, pieces of news we got to get through here. It's not going to take very long.
Nope.
But we start in the Bay Area. We go to Oakland because it's been a minute since we talked about the Big Baller brand. They have increased their, I guess, brand notoriety.
Okay.
By adding hip-hop artist Too Short spelled with a $sign.
I think that's legit, baby. Not just an insult.
And Green Day frontman Billy Joe Armstrong have joined the Ballership group. We're going to call it Ballership group because it's like an ownership group. It's an investment group. Because really, it's more of an investment group now that they have all the fan money coming in there. It seems like they're kicking off another fundraising drive. I believe the target was $2 million for this one. And yes, there's several tiers at several price points. I think it's a minimum of like $550 you have to put in to get a share. You can put in like $25,000 if you want. All sorts of stuff. You can go to the link in the show notes, and linked inside there will be the different tiers of ownership for the Ballers. So immediate thoughts on the two new frontmen and the overall fundraising drive now.
Straight to me on that, huh?
Yes.
Okay. I have not missed anything in this article correctly. They don't say what this fundraising is for specifically.
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. Like, that's where I'm starting to get a little like, what are we doing? Where, they already got more than they were looking for, right? They had 2,200 fans chip in 1.2 mil. That was in July. Now they're doing a new round of community investment for $2 million. And I'm kind of like, okay, what are we spending this on? It just says sports teams have failed their fans for too long. We're introducing a new playbook, become a shareholder in the Oakland Ballers, and help us pioneer a whole new model of fan-focused sports in the greatest sports city in the world. Cool.
The closest from the article is the Bees' first community investment round was in high demand, and many fans missed the chance to become owners of the Ballers. This inspired us to reinforce our commitment by launching a new community investment campaign designed to transform the sports ownership model, giving fans a genuine voice and stake in the team.
Yeah. I mean,
guess
is it just for general expenses?
I think the way they're trying to sell it It's just more or less a lot of people wanted to own a part of the team. So we opened it up and they just picked a number. Now, why they would just pick a random number, like 2 million, which probably isn't random. There's probably some sort of financial reason why it is 2 million. I know they go into more detail about uninsured or unvetted buyers or investors. There's a whole lot that goes into that. Join us from this historic opportunity to redefine what it means to be a fan and owner by investing in the Oakland Ballers. The offering will be powered by Dealmaker, built specifically for community investment rounds. Let's go to invest.oaklandballers.com. So one share is 17 cents, which admittedly, if I could just buy like 10 shares, would do it just for the sake of being able to say I did. But you have to put at least 5.10 in. They are raising more money. They raised 51,000 since I checked this last night. So
here's my thing. Okay, if it's just we're talking about the expenses, okay,
yeah,
fine, sure. I get that. I mean, it seems like ownership is pouring a good bit of money in, and I guess they don't want to just eat all that. Okay. However, if we really look through the site, it's like highlights of investment, but it's like how much they've raised, how many media stories they've had, the fact that they're in a large sports market. Okay.
Yeah.
The Oakland A's screw them over. Got it. Who the Oakland Bees are, how many potential fans are in the market, perks of different investments, like tiered perks, intro to the Pioneer League, and then more selling points about the brand and press articles. And then there's a Q&A, but it's why invest in startups, how much you can invest, things like that. There's nothing, there's nothing about, like what this money is going to end up going to, which feels weird. I
mean, the part that kind of gets me and makes me kind of feel so about it is under the FAQs, you have, can I sell my shares? And the answer, shares sold via regulation crowdfunding offerings have a 1-year lockup period before those shares can be sold under certain circumstances. Then it goes to what are the exceptions to the limitations on selling shares during that 1-year lockup period. And it's death, divorce, or similar circumstance, shares can be transferred to a company that issued the securities, a accredited investor, or a family member. So I assume it's more just some sort of regulatory issue to where if you buy shares in some sort of community asset that you can't sell it as though it is to profit off of. But still, it feels more like they're taking advantage of a thing. There's something about it where it feels a little greasy.
Yeah, and there's something about, as I ask, and look, there might be simple answers to these that we're just not seeing the answer to or just haven't been spoken about, but like there's things like, all right, so there's a 1-year lockup. The last investment run was in July, and it looks like things are going well. My concern is if I invest now, I'm locked in until next March. Meanwhile, people can pull their stuff in July if they invested early, and that's beyond my control. There's nothing I can do about it. So that kind of makes me feel weird. I don't know, man. I don't hate the idea of like almost a crowdsourced organization. What I don't love is, I mean, I've talked to some Ballers fans. I nose around. It's not a super involved fan base. Like they'll go to games, but all right.
Pretty standard fan base.
It's not above and beyond. That's what I'm saying. Like, I just am a little bit and look, I might just be missing the obvious answers here, but I'm a little bit thrown by this. Isn't, hey, we're crowdsourcing this. Here's what, your return could look like. We're building a ballpark. And here's how this all works. Like, I don't know. I don't understand necessarily what this.
My big thing is we're crowdfunding something as though it's a community asset when in reality it's a for-profit business.
There you go.
Like, that's my big thing here. And it's like, if I was investing in any other for-profit business, there would not be any limitation on how soon I could sell my shares. Like, yes, I have to pay more if I sold them before a certain date or time period passed. Yeah. Like there's certain penalties I pay for pulling quicker, but if something happened, like let's just take any team. Like let's say, I don't know, Oakland did something incredibly stupid. Like I know, and this is just an example. This obviously would never happen in real life, but like say they didn't properly secure down some sort of child amusement and there resulted in injury or even death perhaps. I would obviously want to sell as soon as I possibly could because the value of that asset would be depreciating rapidly and could, in theory, tank a whole organization from any sort of lawsuit. And so now you're saying it's a community asset. I can't sell it. I just have to sit there and eat it. And to what would be my liability then if I'm technically listed as an owner of this? Would it just be as though Ford has some sort of recall because whatever malfunction is maiming people and I'm not liable, I'm just an investor in it? Or am I considered partially liable in that? Like, what is that whole out there? I assume it's a stock standard investment, but if it's a stock standard investment, then it's a for-profit company without any of the benefits of investing in a for-profit company.
Yeah. I think I am weirded out by anything that feels vague. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And this always seems, for whatever reason, it always seems to feel kind of vague with Oakland. And that's it. I've been on the record. I am very not in on their ownership. I am concerned about motivations. I side-eye it. I feel better, as always, about the Yuba Sutter situation, just because I think there's good buy-in from the town. Mm. I'm not saying there's no buy-in of the town of Oakland, but I feel like I don't necessarily trust the intentions involved with everything. And I've been on that from the beginning. I'll continue to be on that, but yeah.
Like, I will say there is one category here that goes, what if I change my mind about investing? You can cancel your investment at any time for any reason until 48 hours prior to closing occurs. If you have already funded your investment and your funds are in escrow, your funds will promptly be refunded to you upon cancellation. Which sounds great, but that also then doesn't help me if I'm like beyond the 48-hour window.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just feels off, and like maybe it's because it hasn't been done before, so there's no real blueprint to figuring out how it's going to work in a 1-for-1. But I don't know, man. It feels a little off. That, and you look at what you're getting with like each of the tiers, and it's like I'm paying $25,000 to watch spring training Pioneer League baseball and get some merch and sit in a meeting and get a promo code.
I'm doing a quick read through here. Let me see something. How about this one?
Okay.
I've tracked down a couple conversations from locals on this. I too was going to invest in an Oakland Ballers team. It looked like it would be cool just to be able to say I was part of the ownership in a very small way. So I received the information by email and it showed the levels of money to invest, etc. But after reading the information packet, there was wording that the shares could possibly be diluted. And I started thinking of how that movie about Facebook, the social network, and the lawyers diluting that one guy's shares, and they did him wrong. So it feels like you have no assurance here. Seems like not a good investment.
Yeah, I mean, like if you were to dilute the shares down, I mean, that basically just is devaluating what you have.
Yeah, which I'm like, is that already what's happening here? Because they already did a funding push in July. But again, I don't know that answer, so I'm not going to say that's what's happening.
Feels plausible, though.
Just saying, if this was a big success, there are some attention-grabbing teams through indie ball history, and teams doing bold, interesting things. And generally, that can generally other owners, sometimes they're not in on it, sometimes they are. But like, I don't know. I've talked to a lot of other front offices, and they're like, "Yeah, we give that some breathing room over there." So that's where I continue to just be like, interesting.
Yeah. They're a team to watch. They're always making a headline for some reason or another. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I'm keeping it moving because I do want to keep some pace here. We do have a good interview to get to. Down east, they're going to unveil their mascot. I think we can confidently say it's going to be a dog of some sort. That will have already happened by the time you're listening to it. It is a Friday noon announcement, only on Facebook and Instagram, it appears, which does make some sense. Their Twitter presence is, can we call it non-existent without being mean?
I mean, I don't even know. If I started a new brand, at this point, I'm like, do you get involved with Twitter while Elon's, crawling through the walls, chewing on the wires?
I mean, these days he's more crawling through the walls of the government, chewing on those wires.
That's also true.
I still think it is important to be where people are, and for better or worse, people are on Twitter, because all the Twitter knockoffs are just not that great to use.
I mean, cool. I hope they do it well. I hope they do something interesting with it. I'm a big fan of, I think there's ways to do some different things with mascots right now that people haven't necessarily explored, and there's room to do it. Also, as a local Philly person, I'm always want to be like, doesn't need to be much of anything. It can be weird as hell and just connect to people. And the Fanatic and Gritty are sort of probably the two biggest mascots right now. Something to be thought about.
See, I want to know what kind of attitude they're going to give this mascot, because it needs to have some sort of personality.
Yeah, I mean, it could be spiteful, which is fun.
I mean, I guess, but I mean, it's not like they made their mascot possum.
Yeah, fair. Possums. Yeah, that's pretty spiteful.
Yeah.
Let's see if we got anything else here. Do you have anything else?
Nothing really on Down East. I mean, do we want to talk a little Canadian ball that does not really relate to indie ball that much?
Sure, and then I can bring it back real quick with one more indie ball topic, and we'll go from there.
I mean, if you want to hit the actual indie ball on topic, then I'm down doing that first.
Sure. I was just going to say that, look, I don't want to be super negative.
Okay.
Long Island.
Okay.
Friends. It's the 25th anniversary team for your organization. Don't put Rich Hill on the team. Don't put Rich Hill on the team. They're promoting in the write-up for it. They've made 4 starts, which that's a joke to say that someone made 4 starts. Now they're on your 25th anniversary team. I
didn't realize your show was in the other league.
He only had 2 regular season starts. And they know they're insecure. They're very evidently insecure about it, in my mind, about the number of starts, because they, instead of saying 2 regular season starts or 2 starts, which, by the way, 0 ERA in that, baller, not Oakland baller, but you know what I mean. He had in 4 starts, if you include his, I guess, preseason work, I would say, which I guess is what that was, unless he popped back in for a playoff appearance. That's not sticking in my head.
A baller like this, he was investing in his craft.
Gave up runs, which increased his ERA slightly. So instead of being like he was scoreless in his Long Island starts, they decided to include the other less stellar outings to increase it to 4 starts. Guys, you are probably the most successful, storied Atlantic League franchise going. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, probably top 3 all time. Yeah.
Yeah, probably indie. Yeah, as far as indie ball franchise go, you're right. Stop groveling for the pat on the head because Rich Hill was there for 3 weeks. Come on, dude. 4 weeks. Sorry, I think it was 27 days. It's embarrassing. It makes us look bad. Every time they're like, former Long Island Duck, Rich Hill. I'm like, okay. Sure. Technically,
right.
Sure.
Dick Mountain is still pitching to this day.
Of course he is. He's Dick Mountain, but you gotta love him. But Long Island, move on a little bit, yeah?
So
looking desperate. Because it's another one, it's fun to be like, haha, former Long Island Duck. I get that. That's a good pop on socials. To put him in the 25th conversation, it's just.
Is this more like honorable mention territory? If that.
Just remember that time.
Rich Hill has so much Atlantic League clout for a guy that spent not a month there.
Honestly, it's just.
It's better than when they used to promote Ricky Henderson and Scott Kazmir too.
Yeah, true. I mean, Atlantic League is getting more of a concept of how to handle some things.
Yeah.
But it's like it does. The mind does boggle at times. And I'm like, all right. Other than that, too. I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna. I guess self-control. I'm not gonna overly harp on the thing, but it is like
they say in the Brewer List, don't beg. It's unbecoming.
I mean, the American Association doesn't constantly post about Max Scherzer. He's made 3 starts. We'll settle down.
I mean, yeah, but they actually have something to talk about.
Yeah, fair. But, and obviously that is probably a more interesting chapter of indie ball. But I think, yeah, I don't know. By the way, any opportunity to bring up Max Scherzer and the fact that Scott Boras messed that negotiation up because he's an idiot, and remind everybody Scott Boras is not a good agent. Getting large contracts for legendary players is easy, you idiot.
Like,
it's hard to get a real deal. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm so far off topic right now. I'm aware of that.
Well, Boras is also the kind of guy where, like, if you're Mike Trout or Juan Soto, then yeah, you want him because he'll find a way to juice the team for like an extra 50 to 100 million. So fine. If you're a guy like Pete Alonso, do not get him. He's going to try the same shit, but then your market's not the same, right? Like, Juan Soto can play that game because, like, let's be real, someone's going to pay him that money. Pete Alonso found out, no, someone will, in fact, not pay you that money.
Right, exactly.
So,
anyway, wow, we really went off topic there. It's on me, but at least it was lengthy related, so I tried.
North of the border, real quick. There's apparently a baseball league in Canada that's been running for over 100 years called the Inter-County Baseball League. And Fernando Roddy's pitching there this year. Ayami Sato is also apparently pitching there, and she's like one of the best female players in the game, apparently. And this Terry Smith individual, who's like the real life Ted Lasso's up there, bought a team, the Bradford Red Sox.
Literally, like Ted Lasso is based off of them.
Yeah. And
inspired.
Yeah, and like they bought the oldest team in Canada. So it's kind of interesting to me. I don't really have a concept of a plan to talk about this, but like I just found it interesting, so I figured I'd throw it out there.
Yeah, I have no idea what to make of it, but we'll keep an eye on it. I'm always interested in interesting ownership, moving in on things. Plus, I don't know. I'm, as somebody who's unemployed and in the industry, I'm like, well, that could be interesting. That could be a fun adventure.
Head on up north, keep a job there for a couple of years, let it all play out.
It'll all play out. I think Canada's gotten cool with some things.
Yeah.
Better for partying in Canada.
I do wonder if there's any poachable markets in that league.
Honestly, especially because they've had success with Canadian markets. So, like they as in indie ball leagues.
That's true. That's really all there is there. So we got an interview. Dave Blenckstone, GM of the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars. Quick thoughts on this interview? Any?
A lot of fun. I'm very interested in not only Hagerstown, but David's career, because it's an interesting path that he's taken. And I'm glad you lined it up. I was excited when you mentioned it, because you just texted me like, hey, here's what we got going this week. I was like, sweet. All right, cool little surprise for me. So yeah, man, it's a good time. I was able to hit most of my questions because I was kind of all over the board, because I had a list of like 18 potential questions to throw in there. So I had to be a little choosy, but yeah, man, I think it was I very much enjoyed the conversation. So I hope people do enjoy it at least half as much as I did, because I think that means you're in for a good time.
Yeah, no, it definitely was a fun one. We get to see some inner workings on how they went about building the team from scratch. Ryan talked about his path there, being in baseball for a while and then just being out of the game for about 13 years or so, 14 years or so. And then hopping right back in, apparently not really missing much of a beat. A Joe Klein Executive of the Year award winner last year. And yeah, overall pretty solid time. Hope you guys enjoy it. So here's our interview with David Blenckstone of the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars. We return again this week with another entry into our long-running interview series, this time with the GM of Maryland's newest baseball team, the Hagerstown Flying Boxcars. Please welcome to the show, David Blenckstone. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Appreciate you guys asking me on.
Yeah, appreciate you hopping on, talking some boxcar baseball with us here. And it was obviously a very exciting 2024 season. And if I recall correctly, the first game was rather particularly exciting at home there.
We opened on the road actually in York, Pennsylvania, and we threw a no-hitter. And we won, I think it was 4-0 in our first ever franchise game. So unfortunately, the guys set the bar pretty high. So
but it was a sign of good things to come, though, going forward, building off of that.
It was a sign of good things that night, that's for sure. I can't say the rest of the season added up as well, but it was certainly a unique and exciting way to start the franchise off.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever heard of that being a first game no-hitter there, but it's definitely one of the moments of the year for me, I know, certainly.
We were told that it was that nobody could find any franchise that started off by winning a no-hitter. So there were some people who looked into it, and that's what we were told. So we're going to go with it.
I'm just hoping
that was cool too, because I was there, and a good were you there for that? Because I know a good bit of your front office traveled for that game, since it's not you're almost travel partners. Yeah.
There were a lot of our fans who made the trip, and it's a short trip. It's probably less than 90 minutes. But our team actually chartered a bus, so almost all of our front office, like we were spent at that point. So it was really nice just to get a couple, 3 or 4 hours of relaxation time. But so most of our front office staff went, ownership group, some other community leaders. Charter bus up, but then a lot of our fans went on their own too. So there was certainly an audible cheer when that last out was recorded.
Yeah,
a nice few hours to relax, unless you're the social media person who then has to scramble to get all maybe a graphic in order, get a picture taken, and get some tweets out about this. Yeah, that's what I thought about.
Social media guy does a great job, and you're right. That's really a 24/7 job if you're doing it well.
Yeah. I could just imagine that guy's like no hitter half typed, and he's like, I don't want to finish typing this out yet. I don't want to be the guy that caused this.
Don't jinx it. Yeah, don't jinx it.
Just like, I'm gonna wait to put the R in hitter in, and then just once the out, then I'll hit it and then finish off the graphic.
No, nobody jinxed it, so we made it through somehow.
Exactly.
It was really exciting, but again, that bar was set pretty high.
Yeah.
Said after the game, I'm like, I quit. Like, where do you go from here?
Exactly. It's like getting a hole
better than that.
Yeah, it's a hole in one the first time you swing a golf club. It's like, all right, well,
shake hands. Good job, everybody.
Exactly. Like back to the parking lot. But yeah, obviously you mentioned he was very tired and beleaguered going into that because of all the work that's to go in over the 2 years leading up to that moment. And so I guess I'll start off by going, what was that process like coming back into baseball again? I believe getting the start April of 23. You entered the franchise there. So I guess walk me through that whole year.
Yeah, it was so I was the first hired employee, but our ownership group, and they had hired two executives that kind of helped them through the hiring process of myself, and they're still here today. They've been a tremendous asset. Chuck Domino and Mary Nixon have been here long before I started, so they have a wealth of knowledge. But it was fairly lonely the first month or 6 weeks. You're one employee sitting in a big office sometimes, and so the initial challenges were first to build a front office staff, but then really to put our business plan together, to build budgets, to make sure we're pricing our billboards and our season tickets appropriately for this market. So there was a lot that went into it, and I knew what I was getting into when I even interviewed for the job. To start something from the ground up was appealing, but you also know it's a tremendous amount of work, and there's a lot of stress that's going to go into it. The ballpark opened May 3rd. We got the keys May 2nd, so it was really crazy.
Yeah.
For me, over a year, but I would say from those last January, February to the start of the season, it was pretty much a whirlwind, and it was like whack-a-mole. You figure something else, you solve one problem and another one comes up, but certainly you knew what you were getting into, and that was really part of the appeal, to be honest, was to open a brand new facility, especially one of this caliber in downtown Hagerstown. So it was a whirlwind, and I would say things are certainly a lot more relaxed this March than they were last March.
Yeah, I could imagine that. Everything, at least this time, is in order. You have the baseline all set up there, and once you have that foundation in place, it definitely, I imagine, is a lot more helpful, and you can build off of that. I know, Ryan, that you have some experience with Chuck, or at least knowing a little bit about him. Maybe you want to take it in that direction.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll try not to go down the Chuck Domino rabbit hole too far. But yeah, I mean, some from when I was in Lexington, he was in Charleston, but also I live in Reading, Pennsylvania, which is, you can't go to baseball in Reading without seeing just like Chuck Domino's fingerprints on the entire place. So big fan, frankly. But that's sort of an interesting thing to be able to see it from the start. And we spend a lot, I'm sort of split my attention between the marketing side of indie ball and the baseball side. But so much is like we're assessing where a team is and where they can go from that spot, or, assessing as they happen what teams are doing. But I mean, what does the start of the to-do list look like when you're employee number one? What was the sort of first couple checklist items that you had to prioritize there?
It was funny because the first day we were in temporary office space, literally adjacent to the construction site. There was an old newspaper building that was quasi vacant. It really was vacant by the time we moved in. So it was great. We were on the construction site. We could see everything happening in real time. But literally the first day I walked into the office and there was a whiteboard of, maybe 60 or 75 things that we eventually all checked all those boxes. But literally there was a massive to-do list on a whiteboard my first day. And it was, fairly daunting, but we had enough time to check those boxes, and we did. But it also provided a good roadmap of where we were and where we needed to go as well. Chuck and I kind of created that and added to that to-do list as we went, and we checked all those boxes. It wasn't instant gratification. It took some time to get there, but we did.
And I apologize, Savance. I'm going to bounce around a little bit because I'm fascinated by the Hagerstown dynamic. You've had a fascinating career path as well, so kind of a few thoughts on it, but I'll try to make this as a direct line of thought, at least as possible. Thinking of that startup time and what I've seen indie ball teams struggle with, and I know that you've been in affiliated ball specifically in Hagerstown. Have you run into trouble almost explaining to the local community at all what indie ball is and what people can expect? Or was that something that they were pretty willing to embrace, maybe with fewer questions asked?
No, I mean, there was, this was always a town that was used to affiliated baseball, whether it was Orioles, Nationals, Giants, Blue Jays, whatever it was. So that was a big part of the education process for us. Long before we opened the gates was to explain what independent ball was all about. And I think it was more a curiosity with fans. I don't think anybody really cared one way or another. I mean, this community had been without minor league baseball for 5 years. So I think they were excited about the ballpark and excited just to get baseball back again. So I think it was really just a matter of us educating the community about the product that they were going to see on the field, which was easy. I mean, the players in the Atlantic League are, a lot of them are former major league players. They're experienced. So the baseball product on the field was fantastic this year. I mean, it's just a really high quality level of baseball. We always say it's kind of in between AA and AAA as far as the quality of the product on the field. So it was more of an education process. I don't think it was ever a turnoff for anybody. I will say one thing, it probably, we always, when I was working for the Suns years ago, we were a Toronto Blue Jays affiliate. We came in on the heels of the team being a AA Orioles affiliate. And, in retrospect, and even not in retrospect, in real time, it was a little bit of a challenge to sell Toronto Blue Jays baseball in the Baltimore Orioles market. So I think it's kind of been refreshing for us not to even have to answer who are you affiliated with. The community has completely embraced the flying boxcars. I don't think anybody at this point cares whether affiliated, not affiliated. I just think they love the ballpark experience, the indie ball players, the guys that were on our roster last year, like to a player, were just really great to deal with. Just good guys, either wanting to continue their careers or get back to affiliated. So we had a great experience in the Atlantic League last year.
Nick, did you have anything there?
I mean, I was going to go on the route of, like, obviously now being unaffiliated, being independent here, it does free you up a bit from having demands being placed on you from above, from a parent club there. And so I was just kind of wondering how that dynamic's a little bit different, how having, more freedom, more or less, to just kind of market the team the way you want, run it more or less the way you can or want to. What's that dynamic like now?
I mean, I can't speak from experience because I haven't been affiliated for a long time, but what we do now reminds me a lot of what we did, back in the early, mid to late 90s. I don't think, again, I don't want to speak out of turn because I haven't been affiliated, but it sounds like there's certainly a lot of checks and balances that you kind of need to go through, that affiliated teams need to go through now. I think Major League Baseball certainly has a lot, a greater pulse on what goes on in their minor league markets now than they did when I was in affiliated ball. So really what we do now reminds me a lot of what affiliated teams used to do, 15, 20, 25 years ago.
Yeah. Okay. I definitely could see that. That's part of the appeal for me for independent ball, is just that there's a focus on obviously providing a great product to fans, but there's also a focus on the baseball side of trying to win and having the freedom to do what it is you feel is best and not be really hostage by a parent club. And so that's the part that's always fascinating to me, is that the freedom that you have that you may not otherwise have. I know, talking with some of the more people that work in affiliated ball, that's one of the major differences. But kind of keeping it on the path of on the field play here, obviously, Mark Mason, great manager. I'm curious about how you guys managed to score him, a guy that's a veteran in this league, knows his way around it a lot, and I guess he would be very helpful for trying to build up a club in the early going as well.
Yeah, I mean, he was a blessing for me to have last year as somebody who was not familiar with indie ball and not familiar with the Atlantic League. Mark had been out of the Atlantic League for a couple of years. He managed in New York for a number of years until the last couple. So we were fortunate to get Mark for those reasons, because his experience in the Atlantic League, his knowledge of how to build a roster and what players fit into this league and what don't. He had a lot of challenges last year. I mean, our ballpark was not ready. So we were, for 10 days of spring training, we were road warriors. We were at a local community college. We did some spring training down at the facility in Frederick, and our clubby was handed uniforms out of the back of the team van. So there were some challenges that our guys faced last year in spring training, which is a really important time when you're building team chemistry and guys are getting to know each other. So we were challenged by that last year. That won't be the case this year, but Mark's got a great reputation in the league, deservedly so, and we're happy to have him back for year 2.
Yeah, definitely one of the more winning guys there, and that was one of the things we said when we saw you guys hired him, was like, okay, no matter what the end result is, he's a stabilizing force. And in the early going, just having a guy that knows what he's doing, knows how to pilot the ship. And we saw when he, did some time with Empire State the year prior, we were like, okay, if he can get through Empire State, a team that's entirely on the road, this is going to be so much easier for him to handle. And so when we saw Mark get in there, it was definitely a huge plus for us to see that.
Yeah, and it's I mean, it really allowed me to focus on opening the ballpark and our front office staff, and so his knowledge and expertise on the player side and on the Atlantic League side really kind of freed me up to focus on opening the ballpark.
Yeah, and as far as the whole baseball op-end is concerned, is that more Mark running that, or is there a handful of other people involved in that, or how does that generally look on the baseball ops end?
I mean, it was really he and I getting together, and I had no knowledge about indie players. I mean, my responsibility was really just getting contracts out to guys and getting them on payroll. So I feel maybe a little bit more comfortable when he and I have conversations about player personnel and is this guy a good fit, or what does this guy bring to the table? Maybe I have a little bit more confidence in that voice now because I have a year of experience. But at the end of the day, he's the guy that knows how to put a roster together and be successful in this league.
Yeah, definitely. Ryan, you want to take that in any direction, or?
I got another direction I can go as always, but I'm just trying to think. I mean, especially because you did mention, I mean, that Mark's experience has allowed you to focus on, I mean, the seemingly endless list of other duties that you have to take care of. What sort of was your philosophy? And I know that's a large question, so you can feel free to go as broad as you want with the way you handle it. But on sort of getting the marketing going, approaching the community and getting them on board, was it more, grassroots, like small community events? I know you were out in the community a good bit, though I couldn't really keep track of all the different things you were up to. Or was it more just sort of blasting media outlets, or a combination of the two? I'm always interested in what the different approaches are, because I feel like it kind of reflects the town you're in.
Honestly, at the beginning, it was a lot of grassroots. It was getting out and talking to the Home Builders Association or the Rotary Club. So it was doing a lot of grassroots, getting out into community. Twofold. I think what I talked about at the beginning was really educating people about independent league baseball and the Atlantic League and what product they were going to see on the field. But also educating people about the ballpark and the funding sources and who funded it. And no, it wasn't funded by the city and county, so your taxpayer dollars were not directly building this facility. There were a lot of skeptics about the location of the facility and it being built downtown. I think we've kind of checked that box too. I think it's people are starting to come back to downtown Hagerstown again, not just because of this facility, but it has a big part of it. So there was a lot of education about the product they were going to see on the field and about the facility that was being built, and trying to get people over that hump of, the expectation that everybody in this community had when they thought about minor league baseball was municipal stadium. And that should have been the thought. People had been going there for over 40 years, and just to try to get people to understand that was not, they needed to have greater expectations. And this is not going to be a municipal stadium. This was going to be a world-class facility. And it is. And so just to try to get people, I told my staff all the time, like, people are going to want to see this facility for the first time just out of curiosity. It's our job to make sure they have such a great experience. They come back a second time and a third time and a fourth time. I think in many regards, our staff did a great job of creating that atmosphere that people are going to want to come back to, night after night or homestand after homestand. And I've had so many people come and tell me we can't wait for the season to start. So that's exciting. I'm glad people are. There should be a little bit of a downer when the baseball season ends. I know I have it, but there's always next season, so that's not too far off at this point.
And you just sort of mentioned that a lot of it is making sure you get repeat customers by giving a good experience when people walk into the ballpark. Has it helped having such a local connection? Because you've been in the area for about a little over 20 years, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I've been here since 92, when the team moved from Myrtle Beach to Hagerstown. So I think my ties to the community have been an asset, but more than that, our ownership group is phenomenal. It's all now it's 4 local owners. They all have incredible reputations in the community. So I think that combination of local ownership and myself, I've been here for a long time, either in minor league baseball or as a high school athletic director. So I think that combination has helped people. When you go out and give a talk and half the people in the crowd, I think there's a level of trust maybe that I have and our owners have that is unique and has certainly helped our franchise grow. Like I said, there's a level of familiarity and trust that I think people have with our leadership team that I think has really been an asset for us.
And one of the things that I found fascinating with your career path is you mentioned openly when you started this role that you weren't looking for a job necessarily. You were an athletic director at a local high school. So one, what was it that really pulled you back in? And additionally, since you mentioned that role working in education, I used to work in education and I'm always curious to hear from other people who've done the same. Have you noticed a lot of crossover between the lessons you learned working in education with students, families, and in sports at that level when it comes to, applying it to what seems to be a totally different industry?
For me, the crossover between what I used to do in high school athletics, the biggest crossover is probably managing our front office staff. It was intentional. We really wanted to hire a young, energetic staff, and we've done that. They're really talented, but just trying to. It's really team building. It's no different. I used to, I coached basketball and lacrosse, and I coached our boys lacrosse team and girls lacrosse team. So you're always trying to build that team. And so from a front office standpoint, that was always really important to me is the type of people that we're building our front office team with and creating that culture, that work environment that allows them to enjoy coming to work every day, but also give them ownership in their departments and their jobs and allow them to grow as professionals and as people. And I think there's certainly an educational aspect to that approach. But it's worked well. We've had some people that we've hired leave already, but they've gone on to great opportunities. One took a job with the Baltimore Ravens. We have another that's just accepted a job with the Pittsburgh Pirates. This is her last day today. So we hope that either our good employees stay here for 15 or 20 years because they love it here, or they use this as an opportunity and a stepping stone to kind of take the next step that they want to take in their journey. But for me, there's been a lot of crossover between what I did the last 22 years in high school athletics and education, and the team building part of our front office here. I found there to be a lot of crossover.
Interesting. Sorry, I could not resist the urge to ask about that, since I spent a lot of time, honestly, trying to tell people about thoughts I have and then justifying it as, well, I used to work in a middle school. So the carryover between working with baseball players and middle schoolers is a whole different conversation, which I'll avoid for now. Nick, I'll kick it back to you before I go too far down that rabbit hole.
I'm kind of curious where you're going to go with middle schoolers and baseball players, but
it's making sure everyone's got their paperwork signed, everyone's got their belongings in place, making sure everyone's got a safe place to go. It's a lot of it.
Now that you mentioned that, I do see that a bit, but
the contract's just a legal permission slip.
That's one way of looking at it. But yes, I guess where I go is just, you mentioned you guys are about 90 minutes from York, which means you're not terribly far from Lancaster either. And then obviously there's Waldorf that's in the same state, but that is a considerable distance away, I'd imagine, because Waldorf's kind of that special place where it's not really near anything. But more than that, there's a possibility of Frederick coming back in. There's a possibility, there's some talk around another Maryland market as well. Being kind of in between and kind of a hub point for all of these other teams, how does that, I don't want to say affect the way you run things, but is there some sort of benefit or drawback to where you guys are strategically in relation to these other teams?
There's zero drawbacks. I mean, our guys spend fewer hours on a bus than any other team in the league, so we can really use that as a sales tool. We're looking to build a roster. We have in my opinion, we have the best ballpark and the least amount of travel. So there's sellable points there to players if they're looking to get into the Atlantic League.
Yeah, definitely. I imagine that. I mean, we talk a lot about the bus travel there, and you see like in the Frontier League where you could be going from up in Quebec City down to, I guess this year down to Mississippi, and then you have the Pioneer League where, I mean, everything's a bus trip out there. And I mean, the Atlantic League is probably best for busing, certainly, just how close everything is. But yeah, I definitely imagine being in that area is a huge plus there. And it helps also, I imagine, helps keep the expenses down a little bit too when you're not having to do these grand, large bus trips too. Like, say, a team like, say, Lexington may have to pretty much travel a decent ways for just about everything for them.
Yeah, there are financial advantages too to spending 800 miles on a bus instead of 13,000 miles on a bus. So yeah,
definitely there. I guess looking forward to 25, what are some of the newer, more exciting things that can be expected to be seen?
Well, we're gonna have a lot of new players on the field. We're working on getting those contracts signed and back now, so the team's gonna look different. For us, it was you get into a facility and you think you know what you're getting into, but you really don't until you get in and operate in that facility. So there were some major adjustments, mostly minor adjustments, a lot in our food and beverage operation. Some subtle changes that we're going to make this year that I think fans will notice, but hopefully it'll make the fan experience better, and it'll make us more efficient as an organization as well. And you're so limited once you open the ballpark. There's just we made some minor adjustments last year, but really it took us to get through that whole season before we could really sit down, catch our breath, see what investments we needed to make into the operation of the team. So I'm really excited about some of the changes that will be made physically to the ballpark. And then promotionally, we've kind of targeted what parts of the ballpark maybe we could utilize a little bit more than we did last year. Some happy hour specials that will be new this year in certain parts of the ballpark. So, I think our staff did such a great job last year on the promotional side and on the game operation side. So I'm not sure people had expectations last year, but now the expectations are pretty high. And so I tell our staff that hopefully we've created a monster that's a compliment. The expectations, they should be high. And again, it's our job to meet and exceed fans' expectations going into year 2.
Yeah, definitely. I know I did a quick look over the promo schedule and I seen what looked like a Yellowstone theme night, and I saw that, I was like, ooh, that's gonna be cool. That's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. There's a lot of Yellowstone fans, so we have Hagerstown night, so Boxcar Ranch night, I think in June. I'm not sure when it is, but it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. We always like to do a quick look over all the promo schedules and see, like, is there one that really defines an area? Like the one we always go back to because we just think it fits so perfectly is the Gary Railcats have Union Night. And we're just like, of course, the Steel Town would have Union Night.
And they crushed it, too. The attendance numbers were wild.
I think it was close to a sellout, if not exactly that. That's why. So is there anything like that on the Hagerstown schedule that you see and go, yes, this one really does identify the area in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the one that we're really excited about this year is that we're honoring Willie Mays, who passed away last year. But Willie Mays played his first professional game in Hagerstown against Hagerstown. He was a member of the Trenton Giants at the time in 1950. So we're going to have all of our players wear jerseys, Trenton jerseys with the number 24 on them. Then after the game, we're going to auction off those jerseys, and proceeds will go to the Negro League Museum, but also the 2 local little leagues in the city of Hagerstown as well.
Very cool.
So that'll be kind of a neat evening for us, but I mean, really, when he played here, did not have a good experience. You know, you're talking about playing in 1950 south of the Mason-Dixon line, and so I think it's important for us to kind of own that history and learn from it. And it's not unfamiliar to our community, but maybe there's some in our community that aren't familiar with it. But he just, you know, he had a bad experience here, and the experience here stayed with Willie for a long time. So we're not trying to run away from the past or hide from the past or change it, but we do think it's an important part of the history of our community, and so we're willing to kind of own it and, like I said, learn from it, but also turn it into something positive as well. So it should be, you know, should be a night of celebration more than anything else, because not many communities can say one of the 5 greatest baseball players ever played their first game in their town. It was at Municipal Stadium. It was at the old stadium.
Oh, okay, so all right, yeah, that sounds it definitely sounds cool. It sounds like a night to really experience there. Ryan,
we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, definitely. Ryan, you have a direction you want to take it?
Surely.
Right, cool.
I mean, speaking of like the ways to promote and connect with fans, one of the, I always feel the hot button topics in baseball right now is the Savannah Bananas. And, you know, there's a lot to be said about them. Some good, some bad, if you want to go that direction too. But, is there anything as a GM who's, you know, integral to the day to day and, sort of the vibe around the ballpark? Is there anything that you can take away from what the Bananas do and apply it into like the different scene that is Atlantic League baseball?
True. That's a tough one. I think they're so unique. Their brand is so unique. You know, I think everybody would love to replicate the fun that they create. That would be a challenge to draw any analogies between what they do and what we're trying to do outside of just creating a great fan experience.
Well, I will then go, instead of super modern, we'll go a little more back in time, because I'm always interested in like influences of plans and decisions and things like that. I was curious, because we didn't really get a chance to touch on it, on what are there any lessons that you're still carrying today into like your day-to-day operations that you learned from back when your father was involved with Florence, Myrtle Beach, and then Hagerstown? Is there anything that's still, I know there's the time gap, but are there some things that are almost like timeless in the way that they apply to the way you can operate in this industry?
I think there are a lot of bread and butter things that just don't change. You know, you have to have good employees, you have to have a good sales staff, your corporate sales have to be strong, your season ticket base has to be strong. I mean, I think there are certain things that are kind of non-negotiable with successful franchises. You know, the beer needs to be cold, the hot dogs need to be hot. Like those things don't change. The things that changed for me really from when I was in minor league baseball before was the technology stuff. It was the social media and the POS systems, and it was those types of things. But like if you're not selling season tickets and you're not selling billboards, and you know, your food and beverage people aren't doing a good job, and your ticket takers have grumpy looks on their face when people come through the front gates, like those things are timeless. So those are the types of things that really haven't changed and shouldn't change.
And then I just have a couple quick ones, if Nick doesn't mind me completely taking over for a minute.
Yeah, no, go for it.
This is my irrelevant question piece now, because I'm here. The website, I've done some deep dives, but I also just obviously check the team website, and they have some fun facts specifically for you. They listed your favorite ballpark and your favorite ice cream flavor, and I have questions on both. They got, that way. Your favorite ballpark is in Williamsport, Williamsport. Yes, the correct one. I always mess up Williamsport and Williamsburg, but Williamsport is at Lamade Stadium. What about it sticks out to you as one that you love? Because I love going ballpark to ballpark. So.
Yeah, I mean, I you know, a lot of kids grow up watching the Little League World Series on TV, but my son was actually on a team that played in Williamsport in 2008. So his federal Little League team played in the Little League World Series. So when I walked up that ramp and you watched my first game there, I was when he played there in 08. I was just blown away. Like, TV does not do that place justice. It's an amazing, magical place, and it's just for those kids to get the experience to play there. You know, it's like you're literally playing on a miniature major league field. I mean, everything is immaculate. So it just blew me away. It's such a unique, magical place. I don't know that you're going to get the feeling of Lamade Stadium anywhere else, in any minor league stadium, major league stadium, college facility. Just so unique. But we were fortunate. Our whole parent group was fortunate to kind of run through districts and states and the regional tournament in Bristol, Connecticut, and then for those kids to get the chance to play in the Little League World Series was just it's a memory of a lifetime.
And now, because first of all, I love that because I have not gotten to that ballpark. I've been in Pennsylvania most of my life.
Everybody should. I made the mistake of promising our staff that we would take a field trip to the Little League World Series this August, and they have not let me forget that. So we will probably do a front office staff field trip up to Williamsport. It's really not that far away from Hagerstown. It's definitely doable in one day.
Nothing sticks in the minds of staff quite like a promised perk. So yeah, I could see that happening.
There really is a lot more of these middle schooler to baseball comparisons. Really, it's like when
we're going to Williamsport. I don't know if everybody wants to go, but there will be a couple carloads going up to Williamsport this summer.
Field trip, get the permission slips, and then I'm jumping right out of baseball because the other fun fact listed was your favorite ice cream flavor, and it caught my attention because it was coconut chocolate almond, which is not typically the one that you would hear. Respect the move, first of all. Secondly, does that, and this is my real question, also carry over to Almond Joys, if we're talking about this in candy form, or is it just the ice cream?
I'm not a huge candy bar guy, so it would definitely be a little bit more on the ice cream side, but like either love coconut or you hate it. And clearly I love coconut, so I'm not anti Almond Joy. I'm sure I love a good Almond Joy every now and then, but I'm fairly addicted to ice cream, so it's more on the ice cream side.
Nothing like a helmet Sunday to really sidetrack an entire day of healthy eating.
Yeah.
Nick, do you have anything else here as I give you your podcast back?
Honestly, I think I'm at a pretty good spot right now, although I will say I do think the helmet does add something to the flavor of the ice cream. I think it just enhances it a little bit.
Everything tastes better at the ballpark. Everything.
True.
It does, yeah. It's the smell when you walk in because you have everything smell hit you at the same time, and you're like, okay, I'm buying something. I just don't know what it is.
We had one of our fans message me on actually, I know he messaged me on Facebook asking what kind of soft serve ice cream we have in the ballpark. Because he's like, it's the best ice cream we've ever had. My family loves it. We can't wait till the season starts again. And I told him, and it's just, a typical run of the mill brand of soft serve ice cream. And he was almost disappointed, but I'm like, look, everything tastes better at the ballpark. So just buy it when you come back in the spring.
75 and sunny makes everything better.
Sure.
Yeah. And I guess the last thing I have is not too much of a serious question, but I got to ask because it's well known that everyone pulls tarp. Is everyone pulling tarp in Hagerstown? I need to know this.
Nope. Artificial turf field.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Let it
just walk around with my laptop and let the umpires know when the rain's coming. So we have a dirt mound. So we got a couple facilities guys cover the mound and we're ready to roll. So it is I do not miss those days at Municipal Stadium of tarp pulling.
Off
when 90 degrees, got to get it off because the grass is going to burn, put it back on because it's raining and get it off again. And I don't miss that.
Yeah, but the interns are losing the character building experience of pulling tarp when it's a monsoon.
I always found it ironic that everybody on the front office had to run out onto the field during a lightning storm to cover the field while everybody else is running for cover and running for the clubhouse when the lightning storm comes. So I've always found that a little ironic.
It's safe enough for the front office to do it. It's not quite safe enough for patrons, but yeah.
Apparently we're lightning repellent. So
exactly. See, look, you're wearing just got rubber spikes on the shoes, a rubber soled shoe, then you'll be fine.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Exactly.
Nobody is more happy about turf fields and the lack of tarpaulin than insurance companies. Like, I just gotta say, there's so many things I've seen where I'm like, how did that guy get so high up in the air? Oh, he was attached to a tarp moments ago. We're like, oh, not great.
Yeah.
So on many fronts, I'm like, yeah, as much as I don't always love turf, I can get behind not doing tarpals.
Our turf. I mean, it's certainly good to be able to host multiple events, which we do. But our guys last year said it was the best turf field they ever played on, best artificial turf field they ever played on. So it played really, really true. We were thrilled with the quality of the play.
I have heard some good things, not only about the ballpark as a whole, but about your field. So I can confirm that you're not just putting that out there for the brand. I can vouch for that as well.
We had multiple players tell us that it's the favorite artificial field they've ever played on.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. So I guess what we'll do now is we'll do what we always do around here when someone's gracious enough to spend some time with us. If you have anything you want to promote, anything you want to say, any conversation you want to backtrack to, or a conversation that we didn't get to that you thought of during this time, the last few minutes are all yours.
Honestly, we're ready for warm weather in baseball. It's been a long, snowy winter in Maryland, and we're really excited for year two. There's so many things that we learned last year that we can take with us as an operation going forward to year two. So we're just super excited to get started in April.
Awesome. We're looking forward to getting to see year two, and definitely the year I want to try to get down to the ballpark and see it for myself. Didn't get a chance last year, but this year going to try and make a point to get down there.
Please let me know. We'd love to host you guys.
Absolutely will. Appreciate you taking the time with us, David. Thanks for hopping on with us.
Hey guys, thanks so much. Take care.
Once again, I'd like to thank Dave for joining the show. Appreciate him taking about an hour or so out of his day to hop on and talk some flying boxcars with us. Definitely enjoyed it. That was a good time overall.
Some red hot boxcar action. Sorry, I'm so stupid. Yeah, man, I really enjoyed it. And, I had a couple other questions I didn't get around to, so maybe we'll just have to have him back at some point.
Exactly. Who knows? Maybe we do a 999 challenge at Hagerstown.
If you want me to have less questions for you, be a less interesting person.
We have
so stupid.
We have another interview coming to you next week. I'm not going to promote until we have it in the can, as they say in the industry. But if all goes according to plan, should be a member of a Frontier League front office, we'll say. Very successful Frontier League team. And I have some questions to ask. So stay tuned for that. That all being said, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Hopefully you all enjoy. We'll go to the plugs now, and then we will get the hell out of here.
Hey, yeah, Indie Ball Nation on stuff, podcast platforms, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. And not going to guarantee when things come out, but things should come out in the next couple of days. And then, yeah, hire me if you'd like. That'd be cool. Cause still unemployed, which sucks. If you like my resume, hit me up, or else, you know what? If I ain't hired in a couple weeks, this whole podcast is going to be me reading my damn resume. And you don't want that. Neither do I. But it's becoming not a choice.
This is the real reason we picked up these interviews again, especially with GMs and like, so that way Ryan can be like a little flex on the baseball nod and be like, hey, if you need someone for baseball ops.
Hey, here's our call invite. Oops, sorry. Was that my resume attached? Oh, sorry about that. Well, give it a look.
Yeah. Well, while you're here, Mark needs some help building the team this year.
You're right. Let me know. Hey, look, they're trying to improve their, maybe their record on field. I'm around. I'm around. They don't have a baseball.
That's within commuting distance, really. It's a horrific commute, but one nonetheless.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like 2 hours.
No, honestly, I've mentioned before, Hagerstown's not a bad ride for me. So that's something Jack and I have already discussed. It's a market would be open to.
David, make it happen. You got his contact information. How bad could he be?
How bad could he be is exactly how I want to be promoted. Thanks, Nick. Appreciate that.
That's why I'm here. Look, all you have to do to know that he's good at his job is just watch his true crime series and his no-code video.
Oh, yeah, man. It'll get there. Don't worry about it.
They going to come out before Easter, buddy?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yes. But we got, you have me fully convinced on just put the thing out. Still editing. I didn't realize how much work I'd already put in that had to still be edited. And then, I don't know. It's one of those things where you've convinced me, like, don't worry about ongoing developments. I was doing an update video. Yeah. Some of the ongoing developments are so freaking interesting, dude. So I'm struggling with the self-control. So that's it. That's where we're at on that. But I got to make it work.
In a week from now, when I'm down there, I'm bringing a spray bottle. And every time you go, put the development, it's going to hit you with the spray bottle. It's not even going to have water, and it's going to have vinegar.
That's fine. Honestly, deserved.
Yeah. Yeah, so I also have stuff that I haven't put out that I meant to put out, like a video that's not coming out anytime soon. I got news for you. That's going to be at least a week out. And then there'll be in about a week or so, there'll be an article too. So there's going to be like 3 or 4 things pushed out in like a 3-day window. So keep your eye out for that. Indie Ball Pod on Twitter, Indie Ball Report everywhere else. And on that note, this family-friendly show will come to a close here. And until next time, don't forget to play ball.